Good evening, friends, and welcome to our Spiritual Mind Healing Service. I'm practitioner Jennifer Livingstone, and I welcome you this evening to this service, those here in the Zoom room and those on YouTube. And this is our service where we get an opportunity to ask questions and share demonstrations of answered prayer. But as we do with all things here at the temple, let us begin with our opening affirmative prayer. So let us just go within to that place of quiet peace, that which has never been disturbed. Recognizing that one power and presence, God, operating in, through, and as each one of us this evening. We are one with this power and this presence. And in this knowing, I speak this word for this which we call a spiritual mind healing service. I know that for every person who has allowed themselves to be present here this evening, that this exchange of ideas and that this interaction opens us up to greater and greater experiences of good and greater good. And so I know that as we allow ourselves to be fully present in this moment, we share from that place of openness and understanding. And I know that for every word that is spoken, that it falls on receptive ears. And we just allow ourselves to be an open channel to His Spirit's now words. So we give thanks for this shared experience this evening. We give thanks for our coming together, knowing that as we conclude the day's activity of work and school and play, that right here and right now, we simply become still and tune in to this moment. I accept this, I believe this, I know this to be the truth. And I lovingly release this word to Lord, giving thanks. That all this is already so, and so it is. So I invite you to stay in that space of quietness as we observe a few brief moments of silence and quiet meditation, reflecting on our day's journey. That we take is as the breath of Just take one deep centering breath as we gently open our eyes and bring our awareness back into the room. Just breathe into this moment. And as we exhale, we become fully present of this new moment. And welcome back, friends, in that quiet rest and respect. And join me now in this evening's presentation. Friends, on Sunday, we celebrated our 44th anniversary here at the temple. And so many of us shared what this teaching meant to us and what it means to us and how far we have come on this journey in truth. And while I was listening to the sharing, which was very rich, and if you weren't a part of that service, it would do you well to go back and have a look at it on YouTube. I also reflected on my physical journey. And it tied in with my thoughts around what I wanted to share with you this evening. And this is an experience I had quite a few years ago, over 5 years ago, when I went on a visit to Europe. And my experience aboard a high-speed train that was heading from Roma Termini to Venezia Santa Lucia. And in plain talk, I was going from Rome to Venice in Italy. And how this train ride for me became a metaphor for life. And I invite you now to retake that journey with me and just come along for the ride. So you can envision the scene as I go through sharing this story with you. I had booked this train ticket online, so my only knowledge was that I was departing from Roma Termini on Trenitalia 9488. I got to the station that Saturday afternoon around 1:30 p.m. and there was so much activity going on around me as trains were pulling in and out of the station. And just as how in our daily lives we are involved in a buzz of activities, often doing several things at the same time, I hurriedly scanned the monitor to see what platform my train was leaving from and read that I was departing from platform 12. And here I was at platform 25, not sure in which direction to turn. But you always start a journey prayed up. So just from my expression, I guess I may have looked lost, as up comes an Indian man, answer to prayer, who says, "What platform?" And I just say 12, and he points me in the general direction. I was grateful for the assistance, and by the time I had hurried to platform 12, because the time of my departure was imminent, there was the same man again, ready to offer assistance as to the coach that I would be boarding. But I could clearly see the signs, so I had no further need for the assistance, and I said quite politely, "Okay, thanks," and I headed down the track. But what was obvious was that this was something that they did for a living, loading the trains. And I thought of the similarities of us here in Jamaica with loading the minibuses. But I found my seat easily, a window seat that I had selected. And I proceeded to settle in for my 3-hour ride aboard this high-speed train. And as we pulled out of the station, the PA system announced the departure of the train and the final destination, both in Italian and English. And I thought to myself how important it was for us to be able to communicate in language that we could understand and to be sure and definite when we're giving directions to the universe, not to send mixed signals. And during the journey, the PA system continued to announce the upcoming stations, and it even informed when the cafeteria was open. So too does life announce itself to us as we move through this human experience. But as the train rolled along, I could see miles and miles of open green fields with the occasional buildings. I even saw sheep grazing. Imagine that. But my thoughts turned to the abundance that was inherent in nature. And here it was evident that there was no lack or limitation in the universe. And so it should be with our own life experience. As our founder, Dr. Ernest Holmes, founder of this teaching called The Science of Mind and Spirituality, states in our Science of Mind textbook, and I quote, "There is then no limitation outside of our own ignorance. And since we can all conceive of a greater good than we have so far experienced, we have the ability to transcend previous experiences and rise triumphant above them." End quote. Jesus, the master teacher, in John 4:35, also reminds us, "Lift up your eyes and look on the field, for they are white already to harvest." Friends, our good already exists, and it is for us to see and know that it is at hand. But as the journey continued, there were times when the train would speed up and the scenery would pass in a blur. And I was reminded of those brief encounters that life oftentimes bring our way, such as a chance meeting with someone or an accidental encounter that leaves a lasting impression. And while these encounters seem all too fleeting, we are reminded by Lao Tzu that life is a series of natural and spontaneous changes. Don't resist them. That only creates sorrow. Let reality be reality. Let things flow naturally forward in whatever way they like. End of that quote. So we should therefore savor and treasure these phases in our lives, as they are the part of what our memories are made of. Then as the journey continued, there were times we would pass through a tunnel, and for a few moments in that space and time, everything would be in complete darkness. And I would feel like I don't know where I am, or I don't know what to do. And sometimes we have experiences in our lives. At times we may be in the dark about a decision that we should take or a direction in which we should go. But like the train, there is always light at the end of the tunnel. And so we should go within at these times, as we go within the tunnel, when we do not know what to do, because our Science of Mind textbook also states that through spiritual discernment, we see that we have a power within that is greater than anything we shall ever contact, a power that can overcome every obstacle in our experience and set us safe, satisfied, and at peace. Friends, the mind within does the real seeing, the real interpreting of what the eyes are look out upon. What eyes are you seeing through today? And as the train slowed its momentum when coming to a stop in the various stations along the way, we would stop for a while for persons to get on or get off the train. And so too with our own experiences. We may come to a place where we may sit and rest for a while, but always life is propelling us forward. And as we move in the direction of our goals, so too, like the train, it would move in the direction of its final destination. And while all we know, all life is eternal, so we know we're not heading to a final destination per se. As we move on this journey, what we do know is that we are surrounded by infinite good, and we can use as much of this good as we can embody. The passengers that shared this journey with me, some of them coming on and off as the train progressed toward Venice, were a reminder of the fact that persons come into our lives for a reason, a season, or a lifetime, as Iyanla Vanzant states in Acts of Faith. And while many of those who traveled on this train with me that Saturday afternoon were there for a reason, they made the journey more interesting and pleasant. You see, in fact, my seating companion, who sat across from me, was a busy executive who was on his laptop for the entire journey. And briefly, an Asian girl came and sat for one station with us. But while they were cordial, they were not talkative. And so I was allowed to enjoy my view from the window. And so it is with our outward life experience. It is always the result of our own subjective state of thought. And as Dr. Holmes also states in the Science of Mind textbook, he asks the question, do we desire to live in a world peopled with friends who love us, surrounded by things beautiful and pleasing? He says there is but one way. Daily, we must control all thoughts that denies the real and affirm the divine presence within us. And so I'll share this affirmation with you. You can make a note of it and you can say it quietly to yourself right where you are. And it reads, divine presence within me peoples my world with friends and relatives who loves me. And I'll share it again. Divine presence within me peoples my world with friends and relatives who loves me. Yes, my friends, the train also passed through small communities. And it was a reminder that we are a community, whether we are here at the temple, just like we were on Sunday celebrating the 44 years of community that we have had at this center, or whether it is our community at work or at home. We all share a common bond with each other. And as we could also see the vehicles on the highway that was traveling in the opposite direction, it was evident to me that we each follow our own path. And with that, we may not even be heading in the same direction. But within us is the unborn possibility of limitless experiences. It is up to us to give birth to it. What we must remember is that all the power of the universe is with us. And we should feel it, know it, and act as if it is so. You're reminded in Romans 8:31, if God be for us, who can be against us? And so I had titled this talk this evening, Are You on the Right Track? Because when we are on the right track, there are no limits to what we can do, be, or become. But when we find ourselves on the wrong side of the track, we often get to where the rails may sometimes run out or stop. And so as the train pulled into Roma Termini at 5 p.m. that evening, and I alighted from my coach, I was certain I had been on the right track. And so I stopped to do the tourist thing and take my picture beside the train. Here I was, newly arrived in Venice, looking forward to my new adventure. And at this point, the reminder was, as the master teacher Jesus said in Mark 9 and verse 23, if thou canst believe, all things are possible to him that believeth. And our Science of Mind textbook states the universal mind contains all knowledge. It is the potential ultimate of all things. To it, all things are possible. To us, as much is possible as we can conceive according to law. My friends, never limit your view of life by any past experience. For as I recount this story, I can still recall how I felt as I walked out of the train that evening, the train station, and I caught sight of my first view of Venice, a city floating on water. Well, that in itself is a whole other story. But it was certainly a journey that left me much to contemplate and ponder. And so, as I conclude this trip, I do hope that you too had an opportunity to reflect on your journey. And so now it's your turn to share your feedback of your own experience of being on the right track. Namaste. Friends, I'm opening up this talk to you for your feedback on your experience as you journey through life and your own reflections of it. Are there any comments, any similarities, anything that resonated with us? You can put it in the chat, or you may open your mic to share.
Well, Jennifer, can you hear me?
Yes, Rev, I can hear you.
Yes, I was with you every step of that journey. Every passenger who came into the train, I was there because it was so visual. I've never taken such a train ride, actually physically, but because of your description, that train ride is now a memory in my mind. And I can go back to it and imagine that I was right there in the train looking at all those people with you. I'm thanking you for such a visual presentation that we could all ride along with you. Perhaps at some stage you will tell us about Venice.
Yes,
Because
Rev,
you
but that's a
stopped.
whole other story. I did tell
I
you
am
that.
sure, I'm sure. But
But
I just wanted to say thanks a lot. And
thank you, Rev.
yes, we have all been on various journeys, but yours was so visual, so interesting. It was as if I was there. Let me say thanks for now,
You are
and thanks
welcome, Rev.
for others.
Sure. I see a
Hi, Jennifer.
Hi, Dawn.
I just want to say that was quite an experience. I was there with you going
Awesome.
along on that track.
That was
I've
the
never been to
intention.
either of those places, but you made it fascinating. Fascinating. So I look forward to the next one that you do.
It was the intention was to take you on the journey with
Oh
me.
yes, yeah, I totally enjoyed it. Total.
Thank you, Dawn. And I see Leighton saying that Venice was a city where all persons embraced him with love. And they did the same for me, Leighton, because I spoke no word of Italian. They spoke very little English, but they did embrace me with love too. Vance, I'm going to just ask you if there's any comments on YouTube, if you can let me know for now, because I want my YouTube family to also be a part of this experience. And I know a couple of persons said they would join on YouTube. See, life is a journey, and it all depends on how we approach it. Each one of us are on our own path, making our own way. And many times people come in and out of our lives. Okay, no comments on YouTube. Thank you, Vance. So we're moving this train along. If there are no other comments that you want to share from any of my fellow practitioners, I would invite you to put your prayer request, because that's the other aspect of the evening service, where we put prayer requests in the chat or we send it through message on YouTube for any persons who have any kind of requests that they want to have prayed about, prayed for. So I encourage you to put it in there. Theo said, thank you for taking us on the journey. You're welcome, Theo. Thank you for being a part of this evening's train ride with me. Just note that it is a metaphor for our lives. And that was the intention. And always, no matter if we're not on the same track, we're all moving along at our own pace. So I will take the prayer request for persons healthy mind and body, and for peace and love in the world. Okay? While we give others time to put their prayer requests in, I will begin with the prayer request for a healthy mind and body for Dawn. So please join me in this affirmative prayer for a healthy mind and body. Recognizing that there is only one presence, one power, one infinite intelligence that governs, guards, and guides. This presence is God, and we are one with it. And in this knowing, I speak this word for Dawn, knowing that God is the health of her mind and her body. And I know that the health of God is now expressing through every cell, tissue, and fiber of her being. I know that health expresses in vibrant energy, in the ability to move with grace and ease. And so I know that as this health circulates through every cell, tissue, and fiber of her being, I know that she moves easily and effortlessly upon this pathway of existence. I know for Dawn that the health of God is now expressing as her mind, and that every thought that she thinks, I know that she thinks with the mind of God. And so that every idea that she needs to express is fully expressed right here and now. And in this knowing, I include in this affirmative prayer for health of mind and body anyone else who is open and receptive to these words of truth that are being spoken unto their own fulfillment. So I know that as the health of God expresses through Dawn this evening and through everyone else who allows themselves to be a channel through which Spirit now works, I know that that energy energizes, revitalizes, and reinvigorates her body and allows her to just move with grace and ease. I accept this, I believe this, and I know this to be the truth of Dawn, that health is now pictured into and as her experience this evening. And I give thanks, I truly give thanks as I release this word to that infinite law of mine that always says yes. Thank you, God, that this is so now, and so it is. So, other messages in the chat. You're welcome. I will do unity and harmony for Jamaica, along with peace and love in the world. But I'll do, before that, Dayton one's perfect consciousness of my union with the infinite takes me on the right track of peace and prosperity. So I will do that affirmative prayer now of perfect consciousness for Leighton. While Vance, I'll ask you to look if there are any prayer requests on YouTube. So let us go back within to that space that has never been disturbed. as we unify our consciousness with the one, that one presence and power operating in through and as late in this evening. I know that that presence operates intelligently. And so I know that that consciousness of God is now emanating from Leighton. I know that every idea that is necessary as he moves upon this plane of existence is now being outpictured in through and as his experience. I know the consciousness of God knows what to do, how to do it, and when to do it. And so we allow that consciousness to be our guide. We allow it to be our direction. We know that as we allow ourselves to be open and receptive, that we are always guided in pathways of peace and perfection. And so I know for Leighton that that peace of God and the prosperity of God is now unfolding in through and as his experience right here and right now. I know that that prosperity flows into his experience as money substance, as opportunities, as right ideas. I know that that experience of prosperity is already a divine done deal in the mind of God. And it's now picturing perfectly in through and as Leighton's experience this evening. So I know the peace of God surrounds him and every idea and every activity that concerns him. And that as he places his feet upon this pathway, that he's guided unerringly. He's guided in pathways of peace and prosperity. And there is plenty for him to share, to spare, to give, and to use to further his experience here upon this plane. I give thanks for that perfect presence of God that right now is outpicturing in Leighton's experience. And I lovingly release this word to law, giving thanks that all this is already so. And so it is.
And so it is. Thank you so much, Jenny.
Well, welcome. And I have from Elaine a prayer for their family of a friend who has been a part of her journey for this physical life for 65 years. He made his transition on July 2nd. And she appreciation for the ride. We want to release his spirit. Thank you, Elaine. That is so beautiful. Please take that journey within. As we know that while this earthly journey with your beloved friend may seem to have come to the end on this plane of existence, we know that his soul lives on forever and ever expanding. And so I know for the soul of the dearly departed, of your loved one, I know for them that experience as they move onward and upward on their next experience, that truly they are being guided as they unfold into their perfect expression. And I know for the family of this loved one, for Maxie, I know that the family continues to hold the memory of the loved one close in their hearts. I know that they share in the joys of just having the soul with them. 65 years together as a family, as a good friend. I know that each one of you holds that memory dear. And as you allow yourself to just bask in the knowing that your loved one lived a full and enriching life, and that having had this soul as part of your journey, that your lives too were enriched. We allow this soul to move onward and upward, holding on to the memories, knowing for them that the good that they were in this life continues to transcend into their next plane of existence. So I know for the family, as they hold this loved one dearly in their hearts, they find the strength to come together to celebrate the gift of this person that was in their experience on this physical plane. And we know that while they're absent, that the essence of who they are lives on in each of us, in their heart space. And as they call to mind the memories of their experience, this family continues to just give thanks for having had the experience of Maxie in their lives. And I know too the same is true for you, Elaine, that you hold to the memory of this beautiful soul and know that their soul is now forever and ever expanding. I give thanks knowing that the experience of having encountered this individual is truly one that lives on in memory. And as you share in the experience of the memories that you have made, you continue to hold them dear in your hearts. And we continue to surround the family with love as we surround you too in love and support. I give thanks for each one of you. And I know for all of you collectively that the love of God enfolds you and the power of God is protecting you. And the presence of God washes over you. Right where you are, God is in that all as well, even in this moment. I accept this, I believe this, and I release this word to that infinite law of mine, giving thanks that all this is already so. And so it is. And I see another request for Dawn for prosperity and abundance and right action for the smooth sale of a house. So I will do right action for Dawn and anyone else who is open and receptive to that affirmative prayer of right action. There is only one presence, one power, one infinite intelligence that governs, guards, and guides. That presence is God, and we are one with it. And in this knowing, I know that there is only one activity, and it is the activity of God that is unfolding right here and right now in Dawn's experience. And so I know that every idea that is necessary, everything that concerns the sale of this house is now unfolding in right and perfect order. I know for Dawn that the right person is attracted to this purchase of this home, and that the right buyer and as the seller will come together in perfect love and harmony. And so I know that this sale unfolds easily and effortlessly, and that the right price is obtained and the right person becomes the owner of this new beautiful property that is also seeking the right owner right here and right now. So I know that every idea that surrounds this transaction is unfolding easily and effortlessly in right and perfect order. And I know that as you move across this checkerboard of life, that you're coming together at the right time, in the right way, with the right intention. And so I know that the abundance and prosperity that flows from every activity and every transaction now flows into your experience. I know that the supply and the resources opens itself up to more and more abundance in your experience. And as you allow yourself to be open and receptive, prosperity now flows into and as your experience. And I know this to be the truth for every other person within the sound of my voice. myself included. I know the prosperity that His God is now pouring into our experience. As we lift up our cups of acceptance, we know that we are poured into in abundance, and that good is now pressed down, shaken together, and running over, because this is the truth. I accept this, I believe this, and I lovingly release this word to law, saying yes, yes to our abundance, yes to our good, yes to everything that concerneth each one of us individually and all of us collectively, and in particular, Dawn and the transactions that she is undertaking. Thank you, God, that this is so now, and so
So
it
it
is.
is. Ashley.
And now I'll round out this affirmative prayers with that of peace and love for Jamaica and the world. Reverend Michael have requested that in light of our upcoming elections, and I know Dawn and asks for peace and love for the world. So please join me as we go back to that place of knowing that right where we are, God is and all is well. And in this knowing, I speak this word of peace and love for our beloved country, Jamaica. I know for each one of us, individually and all of us collectively, that a peace of God, the peace that passeth all understanding, is now our picturing into and as our experience right here in our island, Jamaica, and indeed in the world. So we know for every nation that that peace extends out to each other. We know that our interactions are peaceful and harmonious. I know that every person that we encounter on our pathway, we encounter the peace that is God. And so we come from that place of love, love in our hearts, love for each other, love for our neighbors, love for our family, our friends, love for our country, Jamaica. We know that God is love, and it is all and only God. And so we let that love now flow out into our communities. We let that love flow out into our neighbors, into our island home, Jamaica, and the Caribbean. We allow this love to flow out into the world. We know that where there is any separation, we know that with God, love now exists deep at the center of our beings. And as we behold each other with eyes of love, we behold a world of love. Because we know that the eyes that we see through are the eyes that we experience on this plane of existence. So we now let love be the way of our heart and the heart of our way. As we lovingly release this word to that infinite law of mind that has already said yes. I give thanks. I truly give thanks as I release this word, knowing that all this is already so, and so it is. I thank you, friends, for those requests for treatment. And now I'd like to invite you just to share with me a few brief announcements. I'm just going to ask you, there are a few brief reminders that I want to share with you. So let me go back to sharing screen. And I will pull it up. Okay, I'm sharing that. I'm going to put this in slideshow. Just one moment. Okay. So here are our few brief announcements for this week. I want to also use this opportunity to welcome, if there are any first-time guests with us here this evening on YouTube. I know that all of us here in the Zoom room have been here before, but if we have any first-time guests on YouTube, I extend a very special welcome to you this evening. Although I might not have done that at the top, I do want to extend that and invite you to come again and visit with us. And I also want to remind you that every Tuesday at 6 p.m., we do have a grief facilitator in the form of Lorraine Jones that has a grief session in our book room at the temple. And you can join the weekly grief support group for anyone who may be experiencing any loss of any kind. I encourage you to stop by and share your experience. It's really worth your time. And then, of course, you can join us on a Thursday evening for prayer power at 6 p.m. It's on Zoom, and the link is also on our Facebook page. So join us every Thursday for prayer power and come be lifted up by the transformative power of God's love, light, peace, and joy. And friends, yes, our family fun day is here. It's this Saturday, July 12th. We're going to Canoka Falls and Park in Ocho Rios, and the bus leaves the temple at 8:30 a.m. sharp. So for those of us who are going, you need to be at the temple by 8 o'clock because we are pulling out at 8:30 sharp. So see you then. We're all looking forward to just being together as a family and just having fun. So look forward to all of those who will be on this trip with me. And then next week, Tuesday, join us again for another Spiritual Mind Healing service. Our speaker next week will be practitioner Sandra Cooper, who will have another exciting topic for you to share. So please join us again, 6 p.m. on Zoom and on YouTube for our next Spiritual Mind Healing service. And friends, if you wish to support our ministry financially, we have several new payment options available. But if you visit donate.templeoflightcsl.org, you will find all of our banking details there. We thank you, as together we support a world that works for everyone. And so now I invite you, as you are about to press that donate button, to just join me in this affirmative prayer. Lovingly I give, joyfully I receive. Be thou fruitful, increase, and multiply. Bless, prosper, and enrich everyone whom you touch, and replenish all of my financial affairs. Thank you, Father, and so it is. And now I'd ask you to join me in the prayer for our center. And it was so good for us to say this on Sunday last, as we celebrate the 44th anniversary of the center. And remember, it's a month-long celebration. So let us bless our center once more, as together we say, the Temple of Light Center for Spiritual Living is a sacred field embodying our spiritual community from which the Christ, peace, love, and joy emanates, to touch, to heal, to bless, to prosper, and to liberate anyone who comes into contact with it in any way. The light of the Christ illumines us, our center, and our environment. Our spiritual community is filled with and surrounded by the presence of God and is growing from strength to strength. The power of God expands our consciousness of truth, guiding us ceaselessly along the paths of wisdom, spiritual growth, unfoldment, and attainment. We are blessed, and to God be the honor and glory forever, and so it is. And now I'd invite you to join me in the prayer for Jamaica, and I'd encourage us to use this prayer daily, especially as we approach our election season, Please, I encourage you to say this. So together, the radiant light of God's love is now flowing through us and from us to everything and everyone it touches. The eternal light of God's love now completely fills, covers, and surrounds our island, Jamaica. The glowing intensity of the light of God's love now interpenetrates and awakens within the hearts and minds of our countrymen and women the truths of life which set free. The light of God's love is growing and glowing in intensity in the hearts and minds of mankind everywhere. Love, health, harmony, goodwill, peace, uprightness, integrity, joy, prosperity, kindness, and all oneness under God are now established, and so it is. And thank you, friends, for sharing this evening with me. It was certainly a joy to take you on this journey with me. And now, please join me in the closing affirmative prayer. We give thanks. We give thanks for this shared experience this evening, for this coming together, knowing that each one of us are on our own life's journey. And I know that we are on the right track. No matter where we find ourselves, I know that we are always guided and directed by that infinite intelligence that knows what to do and that guides us unerringly. And so I know for each one of us as we go from this experience this evening, that truly the time that we have spent together was one that allowed us to be more open and receptive to the truths of life which sets us free. And so as we go through the remainder of this week, we take this consciousness of giving, of sharing, as we each walk on this pathway of light and love and truth. We allow ourselves to be a peacemaker and an emissary of love in the world. I give thanks for each other. I give thanks for this evening's experience. And I lovingly release this word to that infinite law of mine, giving thanks that all this is already so. And so it is.
And so it's
Thank you, friends. Those on
And
YouTube,
so it
thank
is.
you for being here. And thank you
Thank
very
you, thank you,
especially.
thank you.
You are more than welcome. Thank you so much.
wonderful.
Thank